So you want to get into wingfoiling? Congratulations. It's one of the best things you can do. Welcome to Matt on Foil. If you watch online, there are a few websites, especially here in Switzerland, where you can get a used board, and they're pretty cheap. So you get a cheap board for $200-300 maybe. But the form factor is really important. Most boards you'll find for $200, maybe $400 are the wider, shorter boards. And even though the volume is pretty much the same, it's around maybe 100 liters if you're 75 kilos, which is good. The form factor is really important. And the narrow ones, they look difficult because you might not get that balance right, but actually it's easier to get flying with a narrow, longer board. And here is why. If you have your wing still in the water, the windward-leeward instability is actually no problem because you can lean on your wing. And the front and back, the pitch axis, is actually no problem because the board is longer than the fat one. So for the balance, it's really not an issue. On the contrary, it's actually easier. And to get out of the water, it's easier too because you have a higher speed without being on foil because of the slim shape. So you have less drag in the water and therefore can get out on foil easier. Once you're out on the foil, it's really no problem at all anymore, but it's also no problem with the fat one. So that's really not an issue. Also, if you touch down, the board doesn't stop immediately, but slows down a little slower. That also is easier for your balance and you stay dry. Now, that being said, of course, everything is possible with a fat board as well. And I started on a fat board probably as well because they were more common when I started a few years ago. But as you can see, you push more water and the drag is substantially higher. So to get out, it is not that easy. But of course, it is possible. And if you really are on a budget and you can find another board, then of course, go for a fat one. It's okay, it's no problem. Once you're out, there again, no big issue. Everything is a little slower because the boards are usually heavier, but you can sometimes even touch down a bit and manage to stay up. I'm an intermediate rider, so the better ones can do whatever they want, and for me, it's just, it works. But once I bought the narrow one, I stopped using the fat one, so even though you watched this video and found out that you don't want a fat one, if you still want one, you can have mine. Make you a good price. Hit me up in the comments. Because, there's always better material, a better board, a better wing. And sometimes it's easy to just buy a new thing and hope everything's fixed afterwards. But really, just get a board. And once you have a board, it's fine. It doesn't need to be a rigid one. It can be an inflatable one as well. I made a video about the inflatable long narrow board. I'm gonna link it up here, but you can see it's just harder, and if you want to make your journey as easy as possible, go for the slim and narrow one rather than the fat short one. And one more thing, I'm gonna try to get into downwind foiling. So these long narrow boards you can actually also use to downwind foil. I cannot do that currently, but I'm trying to. I had 3 sessions yet, and once I barely got on foil, but you can do that with a slim long one and not with a fat one. So if that's anything you want to know, that's the way to go. Plus, if you want to see my progression, if I get on foil eventually, subscribe. If you're not, if you are, thank you very much. If you want to help me out, get me a cup of coffee, link is in the description. See you in the next one.